And then we can just catch an A-dubs. So, does anybody have, if it's okay with everyone, I'll facilitate. Anybody got issues? Anybody want to do it? So I've got 5 things on the agenda. Does anybody need to add anything? Need to talk about urgent needs, strategy, hands on deck, anything of that nature?
Can I give you a report back and stuff like that first so I can get going?
Yeah.
So it's like way out of the process for you guys and screwing you up incredibly.
You want to do an introduction and then give your report back, then we can do introductions?
We can do introductions first.
Is that right? Cool, right? I mean, I think that'd be good, just so we all know who we're talking to. So maybe name, where we're at, and something we need to...
An animal body part that you'd like to have.
There it is.
An animal body part that you'd like to have as well.
My name's Rich. What was the other one?
Where you're at. Where you're at.
Oh, I'm in Union Beach trying to serve a South Fanboy. And I, like others, manufacture my own. I eat really well. So, I'm getting weird, guys. I'm sorry. So, report back. Every night there's like these 6 families that really need food in South Amboy every night. Like big families, and like we've been bringing food there. So we have a lot that's right in that neighborhood, like literally right in the 5 blocks of destruction that's opening their lot to use for us, for anything. So what he just requested though is that we contact town officials, which is not hard because we've been talking to the mayor over there, and we need to have a meeting with him, and he's going to approve it and whatever, blah blah blah. So we probably have that lot, and then there's a gentleman on the corner who's letting us use his lot for anything, also his house lot. Next week, Aslan and I are leaving, so we won't be able to do anything. So somebody's going to need to spearhead that. I'm sorry, guys. But somebody's going to have to figure that out. I have all great contacts for you guys, set the groundwork. And I'm going to start making a call for volunteers on my network and this network and all of that, and probably like a Facebook event for volunteers to clean up. There's like 3 homes real quick that need to be taken care of right off the bat. And then, like, I haven't asked the remaining blocks if they need construction yet. I just found the 3 people who would need it right off the bat. But that's something that needs to be done.
You can talk to my crew about that if it's an immediate need, like where you have a project to finish up in the morning, then
because I feel it's kind of important that we get these guys done, because I don't know, I'm afraid by Friday, if I put all the calls out and everything, that we're only going to get like 5 people.
Right, no, it's tough to get the crews. We were talking about branching out.
So I'm hoping, yeah, like if we can keep in touch, like I want to do like a working party before we actually go there, and I want to be able to get a soil sample for them before that too, but I don't have the money for that. So I might be able to put in $50 for it, and then maybe canvas and see if any of the community members want to do that.
Wait, how much is the soil sample?
I would imagine like $150.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about how we need to allocate money as a group too, so we can most likely.
Okay, so like maybe we can organize again on or like just somewhere where I can point out everybody what the next steps are to take and everything. I don't know if you want to post on a listserv or a specific person, or if somebody wants to take over that now, or even start working with us now. That would be even better if you start working with us now, and like we can just hand off everything to somebody, because that area has a lot of potential to be a hub like Union Beach, where everybody comes to do that, because there's projects where I know people are going hungry and cold every night that are just like 10 minutes away. So that's pretty much it. Is there anything?
I'll talk later. Yeah, with this.
Oh yeah. Did you pop your head into my tent this morning? I just doubt it. Really weird. Weird. You might be. I'll talk to you later. But, I don't know, it was weird.
Cool. So, succinct request, we need bottom liners for South Amboy. There's 6 families who have urgent needs for food, and then there's a couple blocks of pretty clear destruction that need to be canvassed. Those are your needs.
Did you guys get the space? I know that we're talking about.
We have
Office space or
one of the community members. We're using his space. Whatever. He's backyards slowly, just whatever. And there's kids. There's these 5 young kids that are friends that love to work or something. I don't know. They love to work, and they've been cleaning his backyard together. I'll get you in touch with her. I'm just rambling. I had 4 cups of coffee.
So just a facilitation point real quick. We did report back just kind of there because Rich has to go. We just maybe keep our introductions to like 30 seconds so we can make sure everybody has a chance. Then we can address all these needs at once. So
You guys make some room for Sally.
Thank you.
So Bernie, you want to do it?
Hi, I'm Verna. I live in South Brunswick, and I've been on the ground in Newark at New Hope Baptist Church a lot. So right now, basically, they need like evening people to help put stuff off the trucks, and definitely just volunteers because it's still crazy in there. I mean, they've got piles of shoes in one corner, and they can't even sort through them. We attempted to try to sort through them, but it's just nuts. And they're feeding people like on the hour. It almost seems like the meals will go out and they'll be done and they'll be back in there cooking all over again. So
Where is this New Hope?
Do you want to take that number?
Because I went there yesterday at like 4 o'clock.
I can just take
They said they're not taking any more
volunteers, you have to get there like at least 15-20 minutes beforehand. And they do need them. Just tell them where you're from. Be persistent about it. Because they were going to turn 2 volunteers away from Jersey Cares, but they actually ended up needing people because they will kick you out. Like they kicked out a couple of volunteers for stealing.
That's reasonable.
And for eating food. So they need them. Just be persistent.
I'm Mary. I'm from Hopewell. Hi. And I was with Dawn yesterday in Belmar and tried to facilitate some canvassing there. It didn't really go very well. But then we went down to Point Pleasant and checked out that. We went down to the Borough Hall in Belmar, and they have a pretty nice hub happening down there. But there was a woman, Erin, who was apparently given a job from the township of Belmar. She was there as a volunteer. They actually hired her to take over their operation. They have lots and lots of clothes, and they're saying we don't know what to do with them. So I know Dawn wanted to find out if we could find a place to bring them, maybe a school, just sort them for a weekend, and then get them out there.
Yeah, we have these warehouse spaces now in Philly and one outside Camden in Jersey.
Oh, yeah?
And both are ready to take stuff like that. And we've got a list today of pretty much all the food pantries and thrift shops in Atlantic City, and we're working to do the same in Philly and in Camden. So I think so much clothes has flooded into New Jersey that there's just too much clothes for all the people who need things. So they need food, and people need jobs, and they need money. They don't need
They
more
don't need more
clothes
clothes.
right now.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah, we can take that and start distributing it around. Same with the extra food if it gets to a point where we have tons of extra food. But I think it's food. It's just a matter of getting it to the people who need it.
Who needed it. And then today, real quick, it wasn't Occupy Sandy related, but I went to a wellness center in Ocean and did massage for people who are stressed, and they really want to offer their services for people as well. So I forgot the brochure, but I can get that information to you.
Okay, guys, I'm going. Sorry.
Yeah,
Do I need to wait? Do you need internet? Do I need to wait?
No, I'm not using internet right now. Right on, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Matt. I've been in Union Beach mostly. Although I've been doing a lot more driving lately than I've been in Union Beach. I actually have a little bit of an answer about the storage thing as well as the Philly. I rented a U-Haul, and apparently I can get a storage, I haven't called about it yet, but I can get a storage unit for free or reduced cost because I rented a U-Haul, so I figured we could fucking pick a town somewhere up here and have a storage trailer for stuff. Maybe not the clothes so much because I feel like if, people pick through clothes already, but for things like food, if we're gonna have sustained volunteers for months to come to help feed people who are without homes, to keep some sort of shelter situation going because the Red Cross is already closing shelters. We're gonna need food that we're not gonna have because donations kind of slide after the first little while. But yeah, I have a U-Haul truck too. I've extended it to Wednesday. I think we're turning it into a food truck tonight, or I guess tomorrow. But it's filled with water right now, which I think is going to go to New Hope, now that I'm thinking about it. And it's coats and blankets too, but I don't think it anywhere needs coats and blankets.
They need coats.
Coats?
They
Like
do need
tons
coats.
of coats.
Okay, they need coats because they went through those.
Okay, blankets?
They possibly should.
Okay.
Yeah.
And children's books?
Take them. I mean, it's close to
Everybody's got kids.
Yeah. I don't think we need blankets. The blankets came from Union Beach. So I don't think we need blankets from Union Beach. Blankets and coats came from Union Beach. And the water. It's all coming from Union Beach. I did Manahawkin in New Brunswick yesterday. Tonight I'm doing Union Beach to, I guess, New Hope.
Well, they're open.
Okay, perfect. I will drive up tonight.
Yeah.
You're a tech guy, you know Civi, yeah?
Say again?
You know Civi? You're a tech guy, right?
Civi?
What is it?
Like a
I've heard
civilian?
that.
That's part of the agenda. Just
Good.
We're printing like 500 of these tomorrow.
Great.
For Union.
Wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
We brought.
Yeah, we brought a bunch for you. Amanda asked for some for Union Beach too.
Oh, so
Yeah.
We can pass Amanda give you guys that.
You guys are already gonna print
Did Amanda give you guys the card for the Kinko's? I've got a
No,
Kinko's
I
card
just,
that's floating around
that's
too.
another thing that another point on the agenda, but I just bought them.
Oh, sure.
Because we need a place to, can I put that off for the later discussion, because once money enters the equation.
Then it becomes.
Am I assuming the Rutgers Wireless, you need a password? Or not?
Tamisha logged me in already.
Oh.
Hopefully you can be logged in twice.
So about the money, about the money allocation, I'll talk to you about that tonight for the soil sample.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you all got it, but if, last ditch effort, just call me, we'll just buy it.
Okay, but we're gonna talk tonight, right? Yes. Cool.
But yeah, all I wanted to say is there is a card floating around for Kinko's to make more copies of that if it's necessary. I think Amanda had it last night.
I'm Sally, I'm from Bergen County. My GPS said I was going to be here at 7:08. And I was driving around parking. And then I found I was in the wrong place. So anyway, I was just going to check my email to see whether I had any new news from Woodridge. The last I heard is that they are going to need people all week to move things out of people's yards onto the curb where the town will pick them up, but they won't pick them up, and they've got stuff all over. So Little Ferry and the place to gather at 10 a.m. is the First Presbyterian Church in Woodridge at 190 Valley Boulevard. Kimberly is the pastor, Kimberly Chastain. They've got all their supplies into the church now, so that's good news. Central Unitarian is talking to Kimberly about maybe doing something on Saturday. They're hoping to get 10 or 12 people. I don't know. We also have a benefit concert, and I have little half-page brochures that are somewhere in my bag, and I'll bring them out later, on Saturday, December 1st. Let's see, do I see anything from... Nothing from Lisa on that email. Okay, I'll check the other. So that's a benefit concert on the 1st, $30 a head, $100 preferred seating. I don't know what they're doing. And we're going to have a website up for that. I don't know whether we're going to be able to take PayPal or not. Maybe, but so That's all I know. Unless Lisa sent me something today, that's all I know right now.
Is that all Lisa, 10 a.m. to
Yeah.
at the houses? Okay.
Yep.
You want me to hold it so you can?
That's all right. I'm Steve Sweet. I'm a current resident of Union Beach, and just here to put whatever skills I have to help assist in all these things, as well as record it and put it on the internet.
Hey everybody, my name is Ivanka. I'm with InterOccupy. Did some technical assistance for some calls to get some information out there. And I'm here in person to see how else I can make a difference when I get back online.
Oh, okay, here's new news. Sorry. Two-person teams to do house-by-house assessments of current needs. 4 to 5-person teams to do yard cleanup. Meet at Presbyterian Church, and then deployed to the Moonachie Little Ferry area where the work is needed. She needs to know how many people each day to strategize effective work. We got 4 going Monday. Somebody else will be going Tuesday. I can probably get down there Tuesday. I have another friend who can go Monday. On to the next email. Also, a couple of people in Bergen County want to know if there's a place they can serve food on Thanksgiving. I know Bergen County does Thanksgiving dinners. I don't know where and how. I have to check that out. I should email myself to remind myself to do that. Okay. Well, I'll let you know when I got more.
Hi guys, I'm Natalie. I've been kind of helping out with the Twitter and email, and actually today I've been helping out with the New York Twitter account, which is really cool because if I retweet something that we posted, automatically goes up on their page, like how our Twitter goes on our page. So it's pretty cool. I was advancing, so.
I'm Tamisha. I go to school here, and I live in Essex County, so, and as far as any updates, I guess, I tried to get in contact with the Black Panther Party, like I said, and the guy that I was trying to get in touch with, the head of the Community Survival Network, they said that he had a court date, so I don't know, he might be a political prisoner, I'm not sure. But I'm not going to stop trying to reach out to them. So.
Can you imagine the story that would be written if under this banner of Occupy Sandy, here you have FEMA and Black Panther Party? You want to go?
Hi, I'm Niels. I'm in Philly. I've been helping out with coordinating and dispatch, inclusive of volunteers and anything that kind of feeds through either through the listserv, which, oh my gosh, you guys are amazing. It's like something comes to your listserv, I read the email, it's already resolved. 10 seconds later, beautiful, thank you for that. And then any other requests and any like tech assistance, and like I'm gonna help out with like the finance stuff as well. Yeah, just a little jack of all trades over here.
Natalie, if the emails start coming in really heavy, you need help with emails too. I know you've been working on the email too.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
You all are doing
I have been-
fantastic.
My question is, sometimes I can't tell whether they're really looking for New York and New Jersey stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I know most of the volunteers there are focused on New York because that's where they've been. So I don't know what to do with that.
My personal opinion is that if you're unsure, just send it to both.
Okay.
Because then,
What email address do I use for the stuff that I send to New Jersey from there?
To the list.
To the OSNJ list?
InterOccupy list.
Got it.
That'll go
Okay.
to everybody.
All right.
My name is Larry. I live in Philly. I've been part of the InterOccupy team since we started that whole thing. And I've been, I don't know what I've been doing. I've been facilitating calls, helping set up the tech infrastructure, the comms infrastructure, and helping put together this Canvas program so that way it can be available. And I'm really looking forward to talking about those things because I really think that this coming Saturday is going to change the game. I'm pretty positive of it. So I'm looking forward to talking about that. And just so you all know, it really, like, it swells my heart sometimes at night knowing what everybody's doing. And it's gotten a bit much for me once or twice, but I think it's a good thing. That means that everybody's changing the world. Isn't that what we're trying to do? So that's me. I know it's not much, but you don't want to know the rest. Okay, so the agenda I have, and we can still add to this, is the Perth Amboy, John, that Rich wanted us to talk about. So basically identifying if we know anybody who could go there. Number 2 is U-Haul full of stuff, need baby supplies and bottle of water. This is what Amanda was talking about. If we know where those can go tonight, we can get them there. If not, we're probably going to have to take them to Philly. Because that's kind of our backup space at the moment.
I think we've already resolved that. I'm going to take them to New Hope, cross it off.
Great. So not on the agenda anymore. Then we have finance, because like there's a lot of money. I'm sure everybody's wondering where that's going. It needs to go to everybody to get the operation going. So we talk about how to do that. Then the canvas, and then Saturday. Does anybody have anything else they need to put on the agenda?
I just realized when I said there was a benefit concert, that's to benefit the Moonachie Little Ferry Fund that they have set up as a 501c3 for those, you know, for the emergency guys and the whatever. So, just to make it clear.
I have a question. If I mentioned my friend that the civil engineer with the construction management background.
Yeah.
Can anybody help? Because she's willing to be overnight and everything.
What was it again? I'm sorry.
The young lady with the experience in construction management.
I think that's gonna become really crucial soon. But you all are doing a lot of like hard labor kind of stuff.
Yeah, we got guys that are contractors there on the ground already, so maybe if they're putting together South Amboy and they need a lot of, like, there are areas that are going to need a lot of, you might actually want to talk to Nate about that. Because you're doing you're trying to get the unions together for doing the rebuilding shit after all the
We're talking about for Amboy
tearing it out.
specifically? Or just generally?
But we've got the tear outs covered. I don't know what the next.
Well, it's the rebuild. It's the,
Yeah.
especially the ones that have been damaged structurally. That's what she's going to come out.
If she can help out anywhere, if we need the skills.
Yeah. I mean, probably, it feels to me like Union Beach is the place where most kind of full service work is happening. We're still on the like laying the groundwork.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of talk about that kind of like ending pretty soon.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think it makes sense to have as many people as we can spend some time there before it does pull up stakes, so to speak, and move out of town.
Figuratively.
Do we know when that? Right.
Stakes, literally.
Dead stakes, yep.
I think yeah, as many people as we can get in there to learn about the whole process of what they're doing to help replicate that elsewhere is beneficial.
Definitely. But there are a few, it sounded like he was describing an outdoor space lot situation. One of the 25-40 tents is from the New Jersey Park Service, maybe Federal Park Service, but based in New Jersey. They lent it to us, they may lend it to you. Kind of. It doesn't belong to the local town.
Right.
So we can actually go a couple towns away. And there's other resources like that. I think the reefer truck is a kick down. Most of the kitchen gear, most of that stuff belongs to kitchens, and you can do with them individually. But being there and talking to, finding out what stuff might be available if you want to do a kitchen operation down there, and the town's okay with it down there. A lot of the stuff could theoretically be transferred. Cool. It's also expensive stuff that's in trusted hands at the moment.
so does that cover our agenda? Maybe just kind of go into it? Everybody good with that? Cool. Okay, so we've got left on the agenda, if we can't just completely address Perth Amboy. By the way, your friend with the skills, I would also, it would probably be a good idea to put her in the volunteer database on the site, because that's going to become extremely relevant here in about 40 minutes, I think. So I think everybody with specialized skills like that, we're going to be able to cut out, hey, do you know anybody? Because it's just all going to be right there. And I'm going to show everybody how to do that today. And it may be a bit complicated, maybe take another time, but it's pretty intuitive to me. So I would definitely have her fill out the form. So the next is finance.
I'm sorry, I like think of these things. Keensburg. We had that woman who said she had trouble. My sister lives down there. She says Keensburg gets no media, but it's bad.
And that's where we sent
They dropped something off.
Okay.
Yeah. I went over there with a small little package today of like cleaning supplies and food and blankets today.
So did you meet that guy William? With his family? That was the one that we sent Amanda to. It was Kelly.
Kelly?
Oh,
Kelly.
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 Oh, okay.
I wasn't there a couple days ago, but anyway.
Okay, so the next point on the agenda is, I just want to get this out of the way, if it's okay with people, is money. So I just want to give a breakdown of like what has happened, where we're at, and what folks have agreed to so far. And then just kind of let you know what folks on the Finance Committee, which in the interest of transparency is me and Niels right now. Anybody wants to be on that, you are more than welcome. We'd love to have it off of our hands, especially being in Philly. Like, it'd be really nice if some Jersey folks.
I thought I saw some name go by on the listserv that
Roxanne,
okay.
who was in Colorado.
Oh, well, she can do the record keeping.
Yeah.
But,
by the way,
yeah.
just as far as people being out of state, being on finance committees, though, it's fantastic. The national gathering that we had in Philly, part of the reason we got funding was because somebody we know in Colorado was on the finance team that decided to do that. And I don't think it was really like favoritism, but it was kind of like, she can do it. So.
It doesn't hurt to have people off-site and on the internet.
Sure.
Finance committee. We only have bank accounts because like 3 people on site and 7 people on the internet or something, and 4 of them have to have a quorum to make any spend. And one of those people has to be on site, which is national. But it works out pretty well.
So on that note, we could use some people on the ground to complement. So if anybody's willing, which will kind of lead me to my next point, like where we're at now. We went over $50,000 today. So all of you watching this, we're all tremendously grateful. The only thing that's been done with that so far at all is I am the person who has access to the account right now. I'm going to put Niels on it and whoever gets on the finance committee. I just really don't want all that responsibility on me. And we have 2 people in New York who are doing the finances for the New York group up there, keeping the books. They've offered to keep our books as well. So we're going to try to get a Dropbox, so when people have receipts in the field, you can take a picture of it using somebody's device, put it in this Dropbox, it's taken care of. That'll save everybody having to mail and things like that. So that's in place. And the organizers list, which is people who are on the celly, just folks who have been on the ground for a long time. Like those of you who care to show up to something like this are more than welcome to be on this. It's going into the comm structure, which I'll address here in a minute with the canvas. But those folks agreed to a tentative process, which essentially goes a little something like this. Let's just say that every one of us in this room is a point of contact for a location, right? So we all represent these different locations. The group approved to just allocate money for gas and for things like this that are just people are using in their everyday to do this work. The group agreed to just fund that. Where this group here would come into play is if like, so I'm in Philly, and I'm like, hey, I need $10,000 for X, and then we're like, well, hold on a second, like, we're not just gonna throw $10,000 out like that, and so we would all come together to reach consensus on that. It's a safety, it's a fallback. We're using consensus as a fallback. We're using trust as our foundation, and I think that speaks to the. I mean, and by the way, anybody interrupt me if they don't like this, whatever. But we thought, in keeping with our principles of trust and openness, people who are giving their lives to doing this are the kind of people that you can trust with things like that. And if something comes up, then people who are points of contact have a say in, like, no, that's not going through. Now, practically speaking, everybody in this room has put money toward this in some way. And so, what about you? How are you going to get this money? This is where we had a question, and Amanda wanted us to bring this up as well, of how to do that. How do we have a whole state. How do we make sure that people have those funds? And we were thinking we would just do reloadable gift cards, and we would assign them to the different spots, and we would put a certain amount of money in them. That's as far as we've gotten. My personal idea was all the places that we know we have people, put $100 on a card, and be like, there you go. And if when that runs out or whatever, you just tell everybody.
That won't cause you problems.
Okay.
You need like receipts and stuff like that, which is one of the other reasons it's good to have people outside like stuff. But you need to like maximize transparency.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, what honestly, you get food, you get everything. Like that camp, Union Beach has only ever raised $7,000, and we'll need a couple grand of that because you just acquired that donation. We're probably going to end with several $1,000s left over. But everything we buy is 100% transparent. It also allows for a process where if you don't have the money from your main money source, people can pay for things out of pocket and then bring receipts back to get reimbursed from the fund when they're legitimate, which is also very useful. You need 2 tanks of propane right now, and you don't need bank accounts. Not open on Sunday, things like that.
Yeah, so I served on allocation for Occupy Philly, and I currently serve on it right now, Allocation Council. And I learned a lot from the homeless community at Occupy Philly. And one of the guys that I talked to, Harvey, he says that you can buy, sell, and trade these gift cards that people would give to them. And they would use it like currency to get whatever they needed. So my question is, what are you using the gift cards for? And is it possible that you can establish some alternate way of meeting the needs? Like if it's food they need money for, well, it seems like we've got enough food coming in. So I'm trying to figure out what that would go. Is it petty cash? Do you know what I mean? So then they just need certain small amounts of money for certain transactions or something. But there has to be some accountability and transparency of like where this money is going. Just hitting somebody up with a $100 gift card, I don't think takes care of the situation. It just puts a bandage on it, but it doesn't create a replicable situation where we can teach this model to other people or perhaps to FEMA, for example. So that's where I'm coming from.
So it sounds like folks are, I'm just going to act as a facilitator.
Sure.
It sounds like folks are saying that submission reimbursement is a better way to go than here spend this, then send the receipt.
I think the issue is just a matter of transparency. I hate talking about money again, and I wish we would stop this conversation in like 2 minutes. It's not a good use of our time generally, but like I think if we do give gift cards, people have to also save receipts if they spend the money on, if they use those gift cards. I think having gift cards, having gas cards that people can spend on gas money when people are like Matt going around to feed people every day, that's an okay use of funds. But to just give a blank gift card to anybody is a recipe for trouble.
We're talking about refillable gift cards. Can you get like non-refillable gift cards? So if like after you use your 100, give us the receipts for that 100. We'll give you the next. Give us receipts for that. and so forth.
And can I suggest something? If you do go that way, because it seems like that's what the group wants, there is a methodology that you could check so that you can track how that money is being spent online.
Oh, well, yes, and I think that would definitely be part of the process of giving out the gift cards to be the points of contacts or the organizations on the ground that need money for X, Y, and Z. Would like, at least the people in finance, at the very least, and hopefully like opened up to everyone, anybody who wants the information. We can access like the accounts, like each card basically has an online account attached to it, showing all the transactions for those cards to make sure that in fact the funds are being used appropriately for necessities.
And so my follow-up to that is that you can shut down the card if you should find inappropriate usage. And that's, I think that should be, that happen just as instantaneously as we hope.
Just me being a current, I don't have a bank account, haven't had one in a decade, and I've been using a gift card basically to move my own finances, and it records everything, accessible online. Key element is, you know, if a person does run out of it, they're able to automatically give them more funds without having to deal with any additional third party to pay for those funds to get there and things like that. So I think, just from my perspective, that's how I kind of operate already, and it works fairly well for accessibility.
Cards work okay for like petty cash, basically, but a lot of the purchases will be major purchases. You fill 15 propane tanks, that's like not $100. You fill a tank of gas.
As far as I know, the gift cards can be refilled for a few $1,000s.
Yeah, they can go up to like 3,000 or 4,000. Yeah.
Those ones we're looking at today, actually.
Can I move that we stop talking about that?
That wasn't all. Okay, so, but I want to make sure that
it's before 9 p.m.
Great, so let me not have to address you, Reggie. So do we feel comfortable moving forward in that manner? Do you feel good about that?
I just have a quick question. So people who've already like spent out for traveling, like tolls and stuff like that, are we allowing them to submit receipts, or is it just going forward? How are we doing this?
I mean, I got something very big on tolls. If you're Sandy relief workers, you don't have to pay tolls in New Jersey right now.
Really?
You have to tell them the name of a registered 501c in Sandy relief. Rainbow Rapid Response Works.
Alliance of Global Justice is ours, so you now.
Yeah, and that's probably in the system. None of us had any idea we were in their system. We did it as a joke as we were passing through a toll, and they're like, "Oh, we'll look that up." And they're like, "Okay, go ahead." It was a $20 toll for the U-Toll, like coming out of New York State too.
Cool.
And as far as funds up till now, yeah, we're gonna give it back because I spent $200 today, and I don't have $200.
That's a lot, yeah.
We had that for the trainers.
I will not charge you for the rental costs.
We have TWU now, so we might be able to get that.
And yeah, we're actually going to be collecting the information on everybody who needs some reimbursement, because we know that a lot of people have been driving around, spending a lot of their personal time, a lot of their money over the course of the past 2 weeks. We had to rent a U-Haul and for the gas and for tolls when we didn't know that hurricane relief can just be, hey, I work for the hurricane. Okay. So yes, we're definitely going to be trying hopefully to resolve some of this tonight with individuals come and see me afterwards, and as really just as soon as possible.
If I just don't feel that covers like he was saying, there's a lot of big purchases. I don't think that covers like how we would go about actually doing big purchases. There's
no.
I don't think it does.
So how do we actually cover how we decide to spend the money on your bigger, like if we're going to establish hubs, we're going to establish like real operations like we have in Union Beach. It does cost money, and how are we going to decide what to do with money?
I mean, I feel like the simple answer's got to be the finance. If you have a request, you bring it to the finance committee, and they
all need more people.
Yes.
And a lot of, I like the 7 and 3, the 7 who aren't here and the 3 who are. So you have 7 people monitoring. It's basically like
check and balance.
Exactly.
How do you feel about having finance calls? Because if it's pressing enough that it needs to be addressed, just gonna recall. And we'll
if
have
necessary,
a quorum. And then if enough points of contact and organizers are on the call and there's a quorum, we make the decision right there. How do folks feel about that? Takes out the geographical proximity problem. Does that feel resolved? Alright, so we feel good? Gonna see, just making sure? Okay. Cool, so we'll do that. Now if there's a big purchase, we'll set up a call. Okay, so, as per Nate's request, we'll move on. Second point on the agenda is the canvas. This is important. Let me get my computer.
Sure.
And then
We're going to read
So-
tonight.
Yeah, I think we've had this conversation over the course of the last couple of weeks on the conference calls, but we haven't had too many times where we've just been able to go straight through it. But the basics, it seems as though the way this organization has gone, we realized early on that we were not in a position to be meeting all the immediate needs of everybody in the disaster zone. It's not something we could have hoped to do. But we kind of stepped back and said, well, we can plan for a more long-term response, and that's what we've essentially been building over the last couple weeks. By beginning with the points of contact on the ground and establishing relationships with people, we've gotten to the point where we have where we know what's going on in a lot of the most devastated areas. What we continually find is that the people there are doing everything they can to help the people who come to them, but because there's so few hands, they're not able to go out to the people who need help as much as they would like to. We've heard of there have been sporadic canvassing efforts in various places, but the large-scale, door-to-door canvasses, the only people we know who are doing that anywhere are insurance adjusters and FEMA and the Mormons. The database that they're creating is no doubt going to be helpful, but it's going to be, they're working on their 8 to 12 month timetable. That, yeah, they're going to identify needs, but they're not committing to solving those needs, to fixing those problems. We're not committing to doing that either, but we are saying we're going to do our damnedest to fix as many of these problems as we can. So the Canvas form came out of that. It was a desire to be able to give something to people out in the field, and it matches up with what's on the website, so that when people give us this information and it gets put into the website the same day, we can instantly know what the needs are of the person who filled out the form. And because the way the system works now, we have this form goes on, all the information goes into our database, which is called Civi. You'll hear us talking a lot about Civi. And that's the open source database that was created by Occupy Wall Street Tech Ops over the last year. So all this information lives in Civi, and then we can search it to find everybody who needs mold remediation volunteers, and we can say, okay, well, we got 50 families that need that, and we can contact them all individually and say, okay, when are you going to be there? We'll send you this team. We can have our dispatchers doing that work, and we can match them up with the volunteers who want to go and do that. We've got 2,100 volunteers so far in the system who have volunteered specifically for New Jersey. And right now there's that many volunteers, but they have no idea where to go, and it's still confusing on all of the sites, including ours. So that's right now we're kind of the number one goal, at least for me personally, is to plan for next Saturday. We've been trying to do big Saturday canvases, the big Saturday work days the last couple Saturdays, but we've started planning them really only about 24 hours or 12 hours in advance, which is not enough because we've realized, oh shit, it's Saturday, we've got work to do. Well, now it's Sunday, and we are only planning for Saturday. Yes, Thanksgiving's coming up, but I don't think we have the capacity to do it, to have a big Occupy Sandy, New Jersey Thanksgiving dinner somewhere. Yeah. There's plenty of local organizations doing that. We can support them, and
Yeah.
and help them.
But we need to find out where they are.
Right. There's a bunch. We've got a bunch
You got a
already
bunch,
coming in.
good.
But yeah, in short, once we have hundreds or thousands of these forms in the database, we're going to have a lot of work to do getting help to these people. And having this in the system is also going to help us get those volunteers and get those workers, because of the relationships we're building with the unions and with nonprofits like the Sierra Club, like Move On. We'll be able to, if we give them in advance, say 5 days in advance, we're going to need 100 volunteers in Union Beach, 100 volunteers in Belmar, 100 volunteers in Manahawkin, and 100 volunteers in Atlantic City. You know, we'll be able to call up the unions and say, hey, teachers union, can you give us 50 for Manahawkin on Saturday? And they'll say yes or no. We can tell the Sierra Club and tell them to send a blast email to their 100,000 members in the tri-state area, and tell them and put all the information in there. So nobody else is really doing this kind of work in such an organized fashion. People who want to volunteer still have to navigate through a maze of different organizations and find one that fits them, and it's just not easy. So the thing that we can do better than anyone else, I think, is connect volunteers to people in need. No one else is trying to do that, and no one else has got the system and the network in place to do it like we do. And it's going to be a huge lift over the next few weeks. People are going to say we're going to be up against the inertia that says that this relief effort is winding down, because we all know it's not. We know, especially those who've been on the ground, you know that things are not getting better for people, they're getting worse, because people are getting more and more desperate, and the people who are still without food, still without power, still without water are at the end of their rope. So really that's the point of this, and that's pretty much that's my spiel. This and the database and the volunteers are the biggest selling points for what Occupy Sandy, New Jersey does. So when you're talking to people on the ground, show them this form. Talk about the database. Talk about the 2,100 New Jersey volunteers and the 10,000 additional New York volunteers who we have access to. Talk about the unions. Talk about the Sierra Club. That stuff is convincing people. It's even before the unions. It was this system that we used to convince the unions to sign on with us, and you know, it's a domino effect. There's more coming. I got the other one was AmeriCorps. I've told a few of you already. AmeriCorps reached out overnight. I sent an email to them late last night, and I got a call this morning from somebody else, from like a higher up, who was calling me back. They have 200 people in New York working at shelters, and the shelters are all starting to close now. So these 200 people in teams of 6 to 10 each are becoming available, and AmeriCorps wants to send them to us.
Wait.
They don't have anywhere else.
Is that InCCC? Because I'm former AmeriCorps. That's
No, this specific one that I got from was the Montana Conservation Corps.
Yeah, it's InCCC. Yeah.
Okay. And then somebody else from AmeriCorps called. So they're eager to send us people. These are like trained organizers, and yeah. So that's
awesome. And yeah, we started hosting AmeriCorps groups after Katrina in St. Bernard Parish. We had like 200 volunteers in general, but like they sent in 40 people, and none of us had to work anymore.
Right. That's the idea. I mean, they start.
They came and helped us with the Thanksgiving dinner. Yeah, we didn't.
I mean, I said they sent the email to me and to somebody in New York, and like the Occupy Sandy medics, and I was like, I said, if you can give us 3 of those teams, you know, that's like I'm not good at math, but 18 to 30 people. We could do great things with them, and New York can have the other 170. But we could use those organizers.
This is one of the like 25 organizations who reached out.
Yeah, there's tons of groups.
And they're coming to us.
You need to give them
because-
what to do.
They're coming to us because we're organized and, yeah. that was a-
So if AmeriCorps is getting on board, their volunteers are full-time volunteers with a housing and like living stipend.
Yep.
So you now have access to 200 full-time volunteers. If you really want to set up like hubs like we've got going on in Union Beach, that's your
That's our base.
volunteer base right
Exactly.
there. And then if other organizations that do basically the same thing are getting in contact.
Even if we only get 30 of them, and New York gets the other 170.
I mean that's probably one hub.
Yeah. We could spread them around and have.
Maybe 2 hubs. You could split them up with our organizers.
Exactly.
So,
Wait, Joe had something?
oh, I'm sorry.
But this goes, if that really works, and you have a ton of jobs out there to do beyond the ones, because not everyone registers at the local bureau office to ask for help. That'd be way easier if you did, you know. Then, if you ever got jobs that you don't have people for, reach out to the Mormons. They have 200 people on the ground in Union Beach.
Right.
They've got pretty much their entire American missionary force is here. And they don't really have crews. They're not that organized. Like, they've got some crews that are older guys that are here that are actual skilled labor. But mostly it's a 17 or 18-year-old. You just need to put a hammer in their hand and tell them to house cut. But they,
Oh, I had no problem with the Mormons. I just, I was not prepared to be feeding all of our data into their system and never
Yeah.
seeing it again, which is what someone suggested.
So to try to synthesize all of that into bullet points, this is the same points on the website. We know that, right? It's pretty total. What I'd like to do is show you all what that looks like, because I don't want, at the moment I can do this, Chris can do this, and some New York people can do this, but the New York hubs can do this now. And that's the idea. I don't want to do all of that.
Input the information.
Input it and take it out. I want to show you folks how to, like, just give you a teaser to say, like, when we're throwing around these big ideas about teams of electricians going to a town in New Jersey and doing everything at once, like, that it's not a dream, it's not a vision, it's right there. And so I want to show you folks how to do it, so that you'll see just how easy it is, so that way at some point in the very, very near future, I can go around, show everybody how to use this, and then we can go in, build our own needs and volunteer base, and then just, it's old-fashioned organizing after that. In Philly, starting on Monday, we're going to do exactly that. But that gets into the Saturday conversation. So
We can finish what we're gonna do.
okay, so this is the idea that we had. Is so we keep having these Saturdays, we keep having these work days, but it's not like we don't really have the people. But we've got this huge volunteer database, right? So what do you do with a volunteer database of 2,200 people? Well, you call them. That's how they signed up, for you to call them. How do you call 200? How do you call 2,200 people? One at a time.
Oh boy.
And so if
I
we,
love that.
we're gonna have folks in Philly doing that, and then everybody who we're networked with, I mean everybody, like call your friends. You'll be like, we need to call volunteer X and send them here. That way, because they've signed up for a particular region. So we divide that thing up and we're like, hey, there's a volunteer opportunity, you're gonna be doing this at this place, right? Simple enough.
We start calling on Monday, we already have the events planned for Saturday, and so everybody we call based on where they are, based on what they want to do. Some of it's going to be physical labor, some of it's going to be canvassing, some of it's going to be sorting and packing, some of it's going to be house muckouts. We can assign people, we can have the phone bankers assign people right there in real time.
And how that relates to kind of the bigger vision is like we're still a relatively small group of people here. I would consider everybody in this room an organizer. It's like you know what's going on, right? So if there's not something for 100 people to do in a town, what do you have those people do?
Exactly.
So we're going to call everybody on that volunteer list, and by we, I hope I mean we, and get folks to several strategic locations, and then we're going to call the organizations and be like, we need this many people here. So the idea is that we can send a large group of people to several strategic locations, and then we can have somebody on the ground there to direct this. That way, when that comes back, we now have, I mean, there's 1,000 forms there, so 1,000 needs. Somebody who took the time to fill that out, we have 1,000 needs, we can match them with the volunteers, and we can start using the groups and the unions to say, go address these things. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me. I just don't, I don't really know how to canvass from the standpoint of, is it okay to canvass in any, do you have to go to a borough hall and say, or do you have to get permission to canvass, number one, and number two?
It does depend. I mean, there's legal frameworks that vary in some towns. In this situation, I haven't heard of anyone telling people not to canvass, but they could.
So let's go 1, 2, 3.
And,
Somebody mentioned about getting wristbands or something to identify ourselves, so that was one thing. Are we still doing that? And the other thing is, somebody mentioned about cutting back on canvassing. Like, how do we go about that? Or making it more efficient or something. I remember an email that somebody said that.
But I'm going to let folks talk. But
Yeah, so do we have the capacity to have iPads preloaded with the form so that way, no, because in addition to having this identification badge, because I think that's going to be important, I worked on the U.S. Census and it was always a big issue, like who are you and why do you want this information?
Sure.
Even, especially in disaster time, because there are people who will take advantage of people just because they see them as vulnerable. So I think if we could present ourselves, sorry to think about branding in such a way as we have something identifiable that says this is what we're doing, and then to have an iPad or something that like immediately uploads to the system, we have real-time assistance. And I would also, there's also battery packs that can self-reload that you can carry with you that, weigh less than a pound. That might be worth an investment. So there's no downtime for people. I'm just offering those 3 pieces of information if there's a way that we can coordinate our efforts.
So 1, 2, 2 to go.
When you go into towns, there's a reason to register at the borough hall, because if you register as a volunteer in that town, the amount of time you're there, that town can bill FEMA for your time volunteering in that town to the tune of about $27.50 an hour for an 8-hour day or something. And it doesn't really matter after you do that if what you're doing is canvassing for your organization, or as you're canvassing, you're going to end up helping people anyway. That would be the motivation to register in town, which isn't hard. They want people. They want volunteers.
my concern was more protecting the information to the people, really. That was, I guess, more like along the lines of what you're saying. Just giving your information. If they don't really know what you're up to, then that's, even if they need the help, they may not be comfortable in embracing you. Even though you're coming with great intention. That's like this.
So 1, 2, and then for myself.
I'm not sure an iPad would help you in a case like that. I think a lot of people would see this person with this computer as really official and back off fast. I'd rather just go and have a conversation and then later upload.
One more thought about that. Yesterday when Dawn and I were at Belmar at the Borough Hall, we were talking to Sandy and Tina, and a woman happened to overhear us talking, and she sort of came over to us and just wanted to know what we were up to. And I handed her one of these, and she was absolutely so grateful. She was just, as she filled everything out, she handed it to us, and she's like waiting to hear back how we can help her. It's a simple, I mean, it's not simple, she wants someone to help her just sort through things, because she said, I'm alone and I just want company. So Dawn thought, well, the pastor might have somebody in the who would be a perfect fit for that. But she was so grateful, so grateful.
I'm going to put myself and then Matinee. So I think that there's one little piece here that's missing. That's like, why? Why are we doing this? And I think that's what's going to come. And while I'm disappointed if you're watching this, Kat, there's hoping Kat would be here, because one thing one thing that they do in New York, and by the way, I'm trying to convince New York to standardize the canvassing into this. It's an uphill battle, but I'm trying. But CAT was going to give us an anti-oppression, anti-racism, what we're doing, trying to build a better world training, so that way when all of these volunteers come from the Sierra Club, when the Mormons come, when anybody comes, we're saying this is why we're doing this. We're building a better world. And so when you're approaching people, approach them with the respect they deserve. Approach them being sensitive to history and things of that nature. And we need to really, that's something we need to start to develop. And I personally think that we need to start sharing skills with each other and like knowing, because like I know that I have InterOccupy. And I know that this needs to help, and so that's why I'm like, here, please use this, because I know it'll help. And so I think that we need to start communicating with each other. That way when we do have these large group of volunteers, because we're not just reaching the people in trouble, we're reaching the volunteers. Like that's why we're planting the seeds of a revolution, because we're putting ideas in people's minds that we don't have to be oppressive. We're putting in people's minds we don't have to be racist. We're putting in people's minds that people care about what their needs are. So that when we get into long-term planning, when the electricians don't need to go anymore, there's still people with needs. I mean, there's Camden right over there. Those folks need to be able to utilize the system too. And by doing that, I think that we're going to be able to create a better world. Because there's one thing, and I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about this, I'm going to do it anyway. There's one thing that's not on this list. Do you have a job?
What's the second thing? There's no phone number.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious. No, that's for their phone number, not for them to call us.
Okay, we have.
Not everybody has internet access.
We have, this is the first draft, this isn't just the first draft.
I know, but we gotta have the volunteers in place to receive them. I get you.
But what if it said, do you have a job? All right? And the people that check no. If we go into Camden, which wasn't devastated by the hurricane, we take these forms. Still relevant, right? So people check, do you have a job? No. And then, you know, what do you want to do? What do you want to do for a job, right? I want to, I want to make baskets. That's what I want my job. That's what my passion is. I want to make baskets. What if the entire town of Camden was canvas? And what if 15 people wanted to make baskets? We can access them all. And we can put them in contact with each other and we say, start a business.
Train one of them in how to use Maestro, and they can have calls every night at 9 o'clock until they have a co-op for them.
And then the training, the skill shares that they're giving to people bleed into how they look at business. They bleed into how they look at community, because that's all they have. They cut the corporation out completely, and here we are to support them. We have these gobs of money. What are we going to do with it? Put people to work. That's why this is Occupy.
People to work. They're going to put themselves to work.
Yeah.
They don't need us to put them.
I don't think about what I say.
They just need to be connected.
Just facilitate.
We all are.
Okay, you're not really allowed to have a meeting in the lounge.
I talked to a guy over at the student center. The
SAC?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys can't do that here. Because you guys, like, this is clearly like a full-blown meeting because you guys have like food and stuff. The lounge is usually for like students if you have like 2 or 3 people. But you guys have like food, so if you guys make a mess, like, you know, we won't be able to put blame on the specific group. So, yeah.
We're capable of coming up.
Yeah, you guys have.
Where
Hey, by the way,
where
the
would
students
where
brought
would
us this.
Yeah, we didn't even bring this.
where would you prefer us to go?
I mean, I really don't have a problem with you guys meeting here. It's really, honestly, the food is the issue. Because if it makes a mess, I don't even know what group this is. And like, somebody has to get charged because it has to get cleaned up. So, I mean, if you guys, I don't want to say throw it out, but
Close it
you
up and
do
put it
something,
away?
yeah, do something with the food, like, I'll let you guys stay
You
here.
guys want some food?
We can do that. We're doing hurricane relief work.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Somebody brought all this extra food for us and then left, but we'll take care of it.
Okay.
Thanks.
We won't even
Thank
touch
you.
it until we leave.
Yeah, well, it has to like be closed up, cause like
Sure.
the salsa could spill, like, it's just right.
Okay.
Accidentally.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have clerical people set up in Philly to start entering into this database and go on it like tomorrow?
Yes and
AmeriCorps volunteers could
Yeah, right?
right in and be
I
like,
can handle both of those because I got the AmeriCorps contacts. So I could do that from Philly tomorrow.
And we have more, Anya has volunteered to come help out every morning in Philly, which is awesome.
awesome.
And now that we have a space, we have not just a warehouse space, but we have office space attached to it. So we'll be, there's like many, many offices in there. Anyone in this room, if you come down to Philly in the next week and say, I call this one, you'll probably end up with an office in Philadelphia. So, and the TWU has said we're in there indefinitely. It's a weird space, and I don't think they're going to have that much luck renting it out anyway eventually, so I think we're in there for a long time if we wanted. But I was going to say something unrelated to that. About the big picture stuff that Larry was talking about. I brought this up to Amanda, and she started punching me in Union Beach today when I started talking about getting jobs for people too. She was like, "Let's take care of their immediate needs first." And I was thinking like, well, yeah, there are a lot of urgent needs, but in so many of these places, the most urgent need, even before the storm, was jobs and economic empowerment. And so I think that it's just in the last 24 hours, my thought process on this has shifted, and I think that it's almost imperative that we begin thinking and acting now to help people with this greatest need. And you know, the idea of worker co-ops is such a simple one, and it's a tried and true one that's been practiced for many, many years. And when I think we should add a question on this form that says, do you have a job? If not, what skills do you have? What kind of job would you like to do? And start pairing people up. I mean, once we get more people educated on how to use Maestro, how to use these tools, we'll have more and more people who could get on a call with 16 people and start a co-op business. Start something that within a few weeks is putting money into people's pockets and providing them with a livelihood. And that's something that it seems a little bit strange to be thinking about this now, but I think this is the time when it's most urgently needed, and when people are most open to ideas like that.
I'm just wondering if you go up to a door and knock on it and say, do you have a job, how people are going to react to that.
It's just like, it would be a question down toward the bottom, you know?
We could give them an option to decline to answer.
Right.
Yeah, and once folks understand the city, like, you're going to be able to tell people that I can look somebody up for you right now, who is an electrician. I can look up for you right now who wants to start a co-op, and they can all meet the next day. Like, it's that accessible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
that's true.
when we get into the conversation, I want to show folks.
I think the thing about that is it's definitely important right now, is because I don't know if you guys are working with contractors or construction. Some of these people could actually go into those jobs or have those skill sets. And right now, yeah, a lot of people are pulling out because the holidays are coming. A lot of people just jumped on the bandwagon to help for at least the first month, but they're going to fall off a little bit. So the local contacts or the people locally by who may have those skills can definitely help rebuild, because it's going to be a long process. It really is.
And it's also part of actually helping.
Yeah.
Rebuilding, they need paid to rebuild. But yeah, anybody who's able-bodied should be able to find a job on the coast at this point. Like, there's so much out there. And contractors, local contractors that are licensed in New Jersey that need to hire other people. And they'd probably rather hire a guy from Jersey than a guy who's come in from somewhere else that might just pick up and leave as soon as his kids get restless and want him home. So.
I'm forwarding everybody a very, very succinct, very well written explanation.
Another person from New York?
Her name is escaping me. Lopi. Nate talks about this really well. This is really good. I just sent it to everybody. So can I?
Is there any concerns you guys wanted to address before you go? Anything you want the group to
I know, do you want to see
Hill?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 160.
Oh.
I have it written down.
Can we maybe get to a
Well,
place
I have
where...
the address somewhere.
Somewhere
but
in
yeah,
on
it's
the
an
millions of
email.
files.
I wanted to show people this just to
This
get you
is
excited about it, but
thing.
other than that, I got nothing else.
Can I put, since we have all the,
Oh, no, go
I've been talking about it, if we could discuss it, we have a lot of supplies that are gonna be moved around. So do you wanna discuss transportation of that and like how we're gonna do that? Because it's probably gonna have to happen this week with different things closing up and new hubs opening up.
Well, I think that's why the timing of the facility warehouse opening is key.
Yeah.
And we're also meeting tomorrow at 3 with the Teamsters in South Jersey. So in addition to their union hall, if we can get them to get us some owner operators or somebody who's got a truck and the union's willing to spend the money, we could probably get like a few 18-wheelers.
That would be a lot of supplies.
That would do it.
That would be a lot of supplies.
That might be throwing stuff on the back of the truck, because you're not gonna have that much moving.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like we've been able to do it so far with a couple of
But
U-Hauls.
So we need like a Teamster. An 18-wheeler.
You probably just use a couple people and trucks.
Okay.
You probably just have a couple people and trucks.
Alright, a couple people and trucks, that's even easier.
But so this is, I mean, I hate to keep telling this back, but this is why I want to show folks the city. Because I can go in, push, did you volunteer? Yes. Do you have a truck? Yes. And now I have a list of people. And so we can just be like, hey, you volunteered to do this, need you to take it from here to here. Boom.
Yeah, we have that now, and
You just want me to email you a list of people?
I'm on that list.
I seem to be driving overstock
I don't remember
supplies
names.
over the last 2 days. Overstock supplies from one place to like a place that needs it.
Right.
So like there is that need.
There is
It's
that need.
like already there.
good.
So you know, I don't know if you can actually search it right now and just like contact those people, but you could contact those people and be like, hey, we need this shipped to here.
We can do that. We can do that. And we didn't know it, literally Larry and I weren't trained on how to do that till like midway through the past week, so.
Okay.
Finally, we're learning how, he's better at the system because I'm tech, I'm kind of Luddite, but,
And I have no idea how I became that guy. I was an artist before all this.
Surprise.
You're still an artist. Tamisha.
About the, do you have a job entrepreneurship
Yeah.
deal? How are people, I mean, what's the next step after they are connected with each other? Like,
Well-
how will they get